Okay, right, let's see how you get in. You will go in through current students. I go in through here because that's where I have to go. And in the fullness of time, oh, it's already logged in. Yep. You then go down from this side to course resources, as long as it looks the right sort of thing. And you will be requested to change your password around about every 90 days on this system. And then you will find a list a bit like this, and on the left-hand side, My Modules 2014-15. That's where your modules will appear that you are registered for.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right. And then you'll see on the left-hand side you have a sort of a menu bar that allows you to find all sorts of interesting things about this module. When you go in, you see announcements, and you will see a welcome announcement. These are often emailed out to you. I tend to leave them here and also email them to everybody, so everybody gets an individual email, so I know that you're likely to get it. Now, one of the things you will have is a Unimail account. That's our home email system for the university, and you should use that for all of your activity. Or if you really don't want to have to log into a webmail account, which is actually Hotmail by a different badge, then set up a redirector in Unimail so it goes to your Gmail or whatever other account you've got. And then it'll all turn up on one of these, I guess. Because I guess all of you have got a little smartphone, have you? Anybody not got a smart device? I'm here. And you're computing students. Good God. Okay, well, that's all right. You can deal with it in a different way. But most of you will have a Gmail or Hotmail or some sort of mail account. And if you want to use that as your main email account, make sure you set up that Unimail redirect to point everything from Unimail across that we send to you across to your other one. But when you reply to us, when you want to contact academics, lecturers, for heaven's sake, use your Unimail email address. Otherwise, it might well go into spam and we may not discover it for days. So communicate to us with your Unimail account. What you do in terms of shifting your Unimail to your own private email addresses, well, that's up to you. If you want to keep them separate, home and work, as you might say, separate, that's up to you as well. We will only communicate to the Unimail addresses, however. Right, so down this side, you will see...
Sorry, does anybody have the phone in? I've left it at the back of it.
Not that I know of, I'm afraid, no.
At the back at the top.
It might be at the top if you go and have a quick check.
Phone?
Is there a phone lying around up there, folks?
It's got a white case on it. It's an iPhone.
A white iPhone up at the back. Go and have a look up there.
Thank you.
So, on the contacts, you'll see me here. A random photo, well, reasonable photo of me, and my email address, my office, and you can always come and see me. Well, that's actually going to change because it'll be 2 till, I forget, I haven't changed this one. It'll be on Thursday afternoon, I'll see you, I think. And then this is my personal web page. And I'll show you this now because it's of relevance to you as a member of the School of Computing and Maths. We're building up web pages for the academics here, and you can find out about me and at least one other academic now, Clive Rosen, and we're going to get a few more on there by the end of the next few weeks. And you can explore there and find out all the things I'm getting up to, the conferences I've been to, the papers I've presented, some of the best work of my students that I've supervised for projects. And we also have, and you are going to be taking part in this as we go through publications across to here. And this is where the best of your work over the next 3 years is going to be published. We've produced e-books. I've got 5 e-books about to go up there for the last academic year. 3 from the final year, 1 from the second year from BSc IT students, and 1 from your predecessors last year, which will go up as Computers for Everyone, because that is the e-journal that you guys are contributing to in your assignment, the written assignment that you're doing over the next 7 to 8 weeks. And we'll be talking about that a bit later on. Anybody who scores 60% or more in their little article that's going to be produced for the written assignment, 50% of your work, will be considered or will be put into this e-magazine, Computers for Everyone. You will then have the right in your CV to claim a publication, and 1 or 2 of you who are going to volunteer to do the editing will also have the ability or the right to claim editorial activity for a publication in your CV. Those of you doing IT will then have the same opportunity next year, and in your final year you'll have the opportunity for at least 2 publications if you get 70% or more. So quite a lot of interesting things here, so have a look there. I'll let people know as we develop or post last year's work in there. There's a bit of last year's work there from final year. As I say, the first year Computers for Everyone e-magazine will be there in about a week or 2. So, lots of interesting things. There is no other university where you guys at first year level have the opportunity to have your work published, available to everybody out there, your friends, your family, and everybody else to say, we are great. That's what we're trying to get for you. Then, in here you will find under module info, you'll find the module handbook and 1 or 2 other things. And here is the tutorial groups for this coming term. In due time, you'll get details of your assessment in here and where to post it, the links to where you'll post it, and so on. So we're going to look here, and you'll see there's 2 sets of folders there, one with my name, one with Wayne Rippon. He's the other guy who will be taking you for this module. And his is Thursdays, and I think it's in B302. It's somewhere in the big block above where we have the computer labs tomorrow. You can find out what I'm going to be talking about week by week up here, although it's about right, it's not perfect. You'll find that Explorer will always ask you this silly question when you already know what you wanted to do. Go away. Now, actually, this is not correct. I've got to adjust this because everybody's going to get these sessions every week. So, sorry about that. I've forgotten that I hadn't got this one up to date. However, let's have a look at the introduction. I will get that one up very quickly. So I just want to first of all introduce you to our expectations about you being here, because it actually has quite a significant impact on how well you do. If you remember, when you signed your enrollment form, you actually, in the small print, you committed to a range of things while you are here. Let's see, where are we down? You are required to attend all lectures, all seminars, all workshops, etc., etc., all relevant lab sessions to which you are allocated. In other words, you effectively signed up to treat this as, in many respects, a job, a full-time job like you would do if you went to work in an office. We expect that to be successful, you will need to spend something like 35 to 40 hours a week during the 12 weeks of the year, of the term, on your studies. Reading, reading, and reading. If you remember, students go up to university to read a subject. And the clue to what we expect you to do is in the read. Many years ago when I first started here, I went in one of the lifts up in the East Tower, and there was a little colleague. She was only about that high, and she was more angry than I have ever seen anyone. She was steaming from everywhere. And she explained that she'd just come from a seminar session with some final year students, and at least one of the students there had clearly not prepared the work that they'd been given. So the lecturer asked that student, "Did you prepare?" and got a very brassy, "No, of course not." So she asked her, "Well, why not?" And this lass, final year girl, who'd been here for 3 years, had the effrontery to say, "I didn't come to university to read books." You have come to university to read, 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 and read. Some of it we will tell you exactly what you need to read, but much of what you will do in the School of Computing is going to be shown questions. Things that you have got to go and research, find out. Because you see, computing is a subject where things change almost literally every day. Certainly every week. And you need to develop the skills to be able to find good answers in any situation that you are working, whether here or out there in the big wide world. So we're going to teach you the skills, and I'm going to be spending all of the Monday sessions helping you to develop the skills to become an exceptional student and an exceptional employee. I don't want average students. I don't want you to think you can get away with becoming an average or an ordinary sort of employee, because you won't get a job. We want you to get maximum value from your fees and everything else you're spending for the next 3-4 years, so that you get really good jobs, really good employees for the future. Learning how to learn for the future. That's what my focus is. Helping you to learn how to learn. How to find the right questions, the really interesting questions, and then the really interesting answers. Not necessarily the very, very best. As long as you've got a good answer, that's great. So you are committing to all of that. Some modules you'll have to prepare presentations. It'll depend. Each of us as academics, we have different ways of doing things, and we will perhaps go for a presentation, or we might not. It depends. And given that there's about four or five different programs here from CGP, computer games programming, forensics, network investigations, or networks and security, BSc IT, and computer science. You know, there's all sorts of interesting different directions you guys can go. So, that's what we're looking for. There are some penalties. After 3 weeks of non-attendance, hence the clicker, or zapper, or whatever, you may well end up being felt gently for lack of attendance, and people will be talking to you to find out what's going on, because sometimes life gets difficult in ways that you hadn't planned on.
Sorry, there's a young lady just went up to our office and she said she's had some property in
That phone, we've had a look already.
It's not here, no, nobody's seen it?
Can't see it up there. No. No.
Okay.
Which reminds me that if things do get difficult, whether it's family circumstances, whether it's health or finance or whatever, do not try to solve it only by yourselves and keep it hidden until the last moment when it's, oh dear, I can't submit an assignment or something. Talk to program leaders, talk to your tutors, your lecturers, let us know what is happening. Bring it down here, please. Is he still there? We've just found it.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Thanks, folks.
We have all sorts of things and lots of people who can help you with most of your problems. So do remember to let us know if things are getting a little bit difficult, more difficult than you expected. You need some help, we can sort it out for you. There is that bottom bit, you could end up being de-enrolled if you don't let us know. And if you miss sort of sessions every other week, we'll still probably get round to feeling you and asking if you need any help. One of the things we have noticed is that those of you who do treat this like a job and do turn up to every possible session, you actually do a lot better. Those of you who decide, oh, I can cope by myself, I can read Richard's slides, I can read Wayne's slides, and I don't need to attend, you will find you will not do very well. So it's worthwhile coming here every day that you need to. And spend as much of your time here in the labs or in the library as you possibly can. Even if you're only scheduled in for a bit of time on a Monday, a bit of time on a Tuesday, a bit of time on a whatever other day you're here. Spend as much time here working with the resources we've got for you, because we've got some fabulous resources in the labs. That's why I said it's important for those of you who are here on student visas, it's critical that you have as good a record as possible. So that's just the basics here. Now, I want to have a little, just introduce you to 3 little slides about the way to think about research, the way to think about planning, the way to think about writing. You see, I don't know where you've come from or what your background is. Here, we are looking for the development of what we call critical analysis and critical thinking. In many respects, much of what we are teaching you, we're not really interested in facts. Now, you may have come from a background overseas, perhaps you're overseas students, where the way to succeed is to remember exactly what your lecturer or professor or your teacher told you, the books that you were given to read, the lecture notes you were given, and then you just had to write down from there, verbatim, exactly as your lecturer said, your teacher said, and you would succeed and do well. That doesn't even get you past pass here. We're looking for how you can understand a question, understand what it means in a particular context, go and find a whole set of information, data, facts, figures, theories, academic journal articles, professional journal articles, and so on. Work out what's really important there, comparing and contrasting between different perspectives, because there's lots of different ways of thinking out there, and people look at things quite differently. And what you will have to do is to tease out what's consistent between those perspectives, develop your ideas, and then apply that to the situation as a context, and then come up with some interesting and well-argued answers. And to do that, you need to work carefully. You need to do the understanding. Oh, sorry, I need to one other thing about another aspect of what you're doing here. You see, many of us do not spend hours and hours and hours of lectures boring you and ourselves, giving you lots of facts. We're here to inspire you to learn. Yeah, we can take horses to water, but we can't make them drink. You come here, but I cannot make you learn. I want to enthuse you so that you want to learn. On which topic? Do you expect me, have you thought about what you want from this university? Do you want me to give you lots and lots of answers? Or do you want me to give you lots and lots of questions? Hands up those who want answers. Hands up those who want the questions. Wow. Why do you want the questions, folks? Anyone want to say why you want me to give you questions, not answers?
So we can find the answers for ourselves.
And what does that do for you if you find the answers for yourselves?
Prepares us for life.
It prepares you for life. What else?
Gives you a challenge.
Gives you a challenge.
You can't learn anything if it's already been done for you.
You can't learn anything if it's been done for you. Yeah, if I give you answers, you stop learning. And the trouble in computing is that today's answer is tomorrow's error. The context will change, our knowledge will change, and because the situation changes, just because it kind of looks like yesterday's or last week's problem, and it'd be nice to use last week's answer, until you know that today's question is exactly the same as last week's question, you might get the wrong answer. It won't work. The sort of work that I used to do when I was at Rolls-Royce Aerospace until about 2000. Okay? Huh? No, not law. It's what used to be the law room, law court. And then when I came here, so I had 30 years experience at Rolls-Royce about a whole range of aspects of the way the company ran, just the other side of the town. I then started working overseas a bit from here, and came across various consultancies who were advising businesses in the bottom end of southern Africa, Malawi, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and South Africa. And there are so many consultants who knew this field, this area. They knew about HR management, they knew about finance, they knew about this. and they knew that they had the answer to every company they went to work for. And they just came in and had a quick look and then, oh, this is the answer from my hip pocket. Trouble was, they never took the trouble to find out what the differences were in this company to that company to that company to that company. And trying to shoehorn them all together into the same sort of mould doesn't work. You have to find out the reality of the current context of the question, and then from there use all your understanding about what we call frameworks or theories to work out what's really important for this company, this organisation. It also means for you as students, you need to look at the question that is set to you, whether it's in a tutorial or for one of your assignments. Make sure you understand exactly what the real question is before you start rushing off collecting things. Philip Pullman, of great children's stories fame, said something like, read like a butterfly, but write like a bee. What's the difference between a butterfly and a bee? Why would he say, read like a butterfly, write like a bee?
Feels like cheating to say because it's kind of explained underneath it.
Bees are aggressive.
What is it about the flight pattern and the home of butterflies and bees?
Flies kind of go everywhere.
Butterflies just flap around, they find somewhere sheltered at night, but don't care about where they are. They just flutter around and they're carried around by the wind. But a bee, any bee, whether it's a domesticated bee or a wild bee, has a home, a burrow or a hive. And bees fly from their home to their source of honey, nectar, and then fly directly home. In the hive type of bee, where they have big nests, whether in a hive or hanging off a tree or something, they have on the comb what's called the bee's dance. And they, by the angle that they travel up the comb or down it, and the speed with which they vibrate their thorax tells all the bees around them exactly how far to within a few meters they have to fly to get to a good source of nectar, and then also the precise direction. And so the bees don't have to waste time, they just fly out, the worker bees, zoom that way, and 250 meters later, there are the flowers. And then they fly straight there, and they fly straight back. Now this is what it means in terms of how you organize your thinking and activity while you're doing research, academic type research. You follow your nose and all the references in the sources that you read, like the red drunken spiders or butterfly flight. So you read, lots and lots of reading, making some notes, thinking about what you've read. You can think about it in the bath, in the shower, wherever you are. On the bus, or while you're walking from university to your lodgings, or wherever you stay, living, and on the way back here. But you do not read a bit, write a bit, read a bit, write a bit. Otherwise, your writing will be like that red line, and it's incredibly difficult for you to understand it or anybody else to understand how your analysis is going. So read, and then start planning. And the way to answer your assignments, your questions, is to then plan it carefully, because you've got the start, which is the question in a context. And then, because of your reading and thinking and analysing and planning and note-taking, you know the end point, the conclusion. And then all you have to do is to spend a day or two planning the sections that take you from the top left-hand side to the bottom. No, Yeah, right-hand side. Step by step. And I'll come back to this again through the next few sessions, on and off. But you have to structure your writing so that it is logical all the way through, step by step, from a question in a context to, this is what's a good idea, because. And we're really most interested in the because. Absolutely critical. Because all of your assignments, whether they're coding, computer programming, problem analysis, yeah, the answer, kind of, that conclusion is kind of interesting, but we're really using what you write and what you do as a window into your head to find out how do you justify that answer. That's what we're really looking for. In other words, that good answer is a good answer, or even a great answer, because, step by step, because, with evidence. And you will see in all of your written assignments the fact that we expect you to provide the evidence in the form of citations using the Harvard citing and referencing system generally. And those citations are what distinguish academic writing, which is what you're doing here, from fairy tales. How many of you have read, I don't know, Harry Potter, any of the Harry Potter stories? Yeah. But many other novels and so on you've probably read. Now, most of those are, to my way of thinking, fairy tales, because there is no evidence that says this is true. That is what your citations are for, and I've agreed with the other program, or the various program leaders of your 4 or 5 programs, that your written assignments will be capped at a very, very low score, somewhere between 40 and 45%, if there are no citations or no adequate citations in your reports. Because you guys are not here doing a literature program and writing fairy stories. You are writing well-argued, evidence-based reports and essays, which rely upon there being these things called citations, which say, I don't know, maybe Self 2014, which then links to a paper presented at a conference, or a paper in a journal, or it could be a video, an interview that I've given, one or two over the last year or so, or it could be whatever. But by the way, you will not, and I repeat not, cite and reference any of the wiki something or other websites, Wikipedia, Wikimedia, wiki anything. You can use that to get an idea about what the topic area is, but you will not use that as evidence in an assignment, period. Because we don't know how reliable those sources in Wikipedia, Wikimedia, etc. are. We want those which are reliable sources. So you do the reading, find some knowledge, lots of knowledge, lots of ideas, lots of different ideas. Sort out in your head what the end point is, the answer, the conclusion, and then plan your way down there. And when you have done the plan, then you can start filling in the paragraphs in between. I'll talk a bit more about that as well. I think that's still right. I can show you. obviously too motionless in here for some reason, even though I'm going around like that talking with my arms. I'll show you where that is in a minute. Let's have a little look and see, actually for real, it's probably better to do that. This is a really important area of the library for you. We've got two versions of the menu, sort of, on the side. Now, here is if you know where, or you've got a reference, and you think it's probably a book or a journal article, that's one way of finding it. It's quite efficient, quite effective. The area that I'd like you to concentrate on for the next week or two is study skills. We've produced in the university an enormous number of little subs or weblets almost, which will help you to get an understanding of what it is you need to do in all sorts of different ways. Top left, citing and referencing. This evidence that this is not a fairy story. This is based on evidence. This is based on proper, reliable sources. I should look also at writing academic essays, that one. Report writing. Grammar, spelling and punctuation is probably a good idea for everybody, wherever you come from, because we've noticed over the years that the skills of spelling and grammar have sadly got forgotten in schools around the UK for sure. And so, again, explore this really, really carefully. There's lots there that you can learn from. Lots there that will help you do far better than you would otherwise do. And that one is the one that's really quite useful, because on the right-hand side, Plato, or iPlato, is it? Yeah, or Plato anyway, you can actually practice Harvard citing and referencing, which you're going to be using endemically across pretty much all of the work you're going to do for us in computing. We use Harvard. Tomorrow probably we'll be looking at Plato. You'll be doing a few little exercises there to get a little bit of practice, and then you'll go away and spend the rest of the week getting a bit better and a bit better. Because you really don't want to be capped to 40-odd% just because you didn't bother to put any citations into your article, your journal article. The Cite Them Right Essential Referencing Guide is kind of another quite clever tutorial system that will help you a bit. And then the Citing and Referencing Harvard System booklet is kind of a neat sort of summary in the University Derby version of how to do it. And you can get that PDF or Word document and just have that there to help you get it right. Now, we are trying to make it relatively consistent across all of the modules so you can continue to practice and get better and better, rather than providing you with a challenge with different templates and different structures and shapes and sizes all the way through it. We've decided that we need to make your life a tad easier so you get used to a particular approach, and then you can, over this year, get better and better. And then next year, in the second year, you know, you don't need to worry about this writing style because you've got it sorted. And you've also taken the trouble to sort out your grammar and syntax and spelling and so on. So lots and lots of things that can help you as you go through the next 6 or 8 weeks to write the article that you're going to be writing for this module. And starting tomorrow, I'll introduce it to you and get you thinking about the best way to get a really, really good grade for your article. Get you off to a good start. It's not going to be terribly easy, but neither is it going to be terribly difficult, because we want you to get a really good success quickly. So that's the kind of focus of what I'm going to be doing. We're going to do some fun things over the next 12 weeks. Things that you might not have expected to be relevant. You can actually look at all of the teaching material in the skills in my part of the module, because all 12 weeks are there already. So you can look ahead and get a feel and a flavour for what's going on. But that does not mean you don't need to come here. Because what I write on those slides is just almost a little aide-memoire, a little help for what I talk about, a sort of little framework for you to write your notes, make notes about what's caught your attention during each session, so that you can kind of remember what it's about. That's enough now, folks, so we'll finish there, I think.